Welcome back to Crypto Warehouse. It's 11 a.m., the 22nd of November. And what a show we have for you today. As most, if not all of you will know, CZ has stood down as the CEO of Binance. We're going to go through everything that's happened. We're going to take a look at what CZ's had to say. We're going to take a look at the new CEO. We're going to take a look at what the fine is going to do to Binance, if anything. We're then going to look at what I think is going to be the big winner from all of this, and that is Coinbase. Why is Coinbase going to win? I'm going to tell you halfway through the show. We're then going to look at the Bitcoin price, what's happened to the price of Bitcoin. We're going to have a look at BNB, and we're going to have a look at the future. Now we have seen the end of an era. Maybe some people would say the end of the Wild West. Other people would say the end of the early adopters. What's going to happen with ETFs? This, for me, was the final hurdle before ETFs were going to be approved. So we've got a lot to go through. We've got a lot to discuss. We're going to go through the markets first. Then we're going to come back to this, I suppose you could call it resignation tweet from CZ. A few shout outs. Web3 Superstar, you are not the new CEO of Binance, so there would be a lot to panic about if you were. A big thank you to Kishan and everybody in chat. I hope you're all doing very well. I am absolutely freezing today. Mahesh, good morning to you. Welcome to the stream. Let me know what you're all up to. I had a pot of very warm coffee about half an hour ago, which is now turned into iced coffee. That's how cold it is here. So let's get through the markets first and see where we are. What a surprise. The markets are down just a touch. 1.39 trillion, not a massive amount, if I'm honest with you. Volume is up slightly. Bitcoin dominance is at 52%, Ethereum 17.2%. Bitcoin 36,750. We're going to get onto that later in the show. Ethereum, surprisingly enough, Ethereum is up on the 24-hour chart. So Ethereum has just ridden this wave like some kind of medieval surfer. What is up, however, are a few of the alts: Blur, Synthetics, DYDX, Thorchain. Please, if you are watching this, do not buy FTX token. It is a zombie coin. It is attached to an exchange that does not exist. So please bear that in mind. When you see FTX coin, don't buy it. It's a waste of time. Clayton is up a little bit, and we're getting down to less than 5%. If we look at the 24-hour losers, I mean, we don't really have that many losers considering what's just happened. BNB, no surprise there. Gas, Gala, Trust Wallet, Axie, Chili's, not a great deal of losers, not compared to where we were a few days ago. And we are going to get onto BNB again towards the very end of the show. So, I mean, I think what we should do really is start with looking at what CZ's had to say, and then we're going to look at Richard Teng. What is going on? Who is he? And why we should still be very, very bullish on crypto. I'm going to try and do this in a logical fashion today. Hopefully I'm not going to be jumping around too much. I have planned it out to be as straightforward as possible. So first of all, CZ tweeted this yesterday evening about 9:30. In this, he says that he stepped down as the CEO of Binance. Of course, it wasn't an easy decision for him to make. He admits to making mistakes, but I think doing this is the best thing for Binance and the best thing for CZ. He's right. Binance is no longer a startup. It's no longer a small project. It's the biggest crypto exchange in the world with the largest volume of any exchange that's ever existed. And he did all of that in just over 6 years. Let's not forget that. 6 years is all it took for Binance to become the global leader in crypto. So he's passed the baton on to Richard Teng, who we are going to look at in a minute. He gives a little bit of a resume of Richard, which we're not going to get onto. So what's CZ going to get up to next? He's going to take a break, going to take some time off. I keep asking him to come on the show. One day we're going to get CZ on the show. That's the plan. He can't see himself being a CEO driving a startup again. Most serial entrepreneurs will say the same thing. They have built a business. They've poured their life into the business. But once he's downed tools, once he's recharged his batteries, he is going to come back, maybe not stronger, but definitely wiser. And I could see CZ in a CEO role in the future, maybe back at Binance. Who knows? There's one little theory for you. He goes on to talk about the fine, which we're going to cover. So CZ's been perfectly open and honest in his tweet, as he would be in anything he does. He always tries to be as honest as he can. And don't forget, these charges, these are not charges of Binance or CZ committing these acts. What they are being charged and what they've been found guilty of is being slack when it comes to AML, KYC, those kinds of things. I watched the live press conference last night with Janet Yellen and a few other guys from the SEC. They have a job to do. You know, that's their role is to make sure that people play by the rules. If people don't play by the rules, then there are fines imposed, and that's what's happened here. So CZ has stepped down, and now we have Richard Teng. Who is he, and what is he going to do for Binance? Let's wait for this to load, and then we will get through. If you are watching, by the way, two things. Because this is so Binance heavy, we are only streaming on the Binance exchange today. We are streaming on YouTube, but we are streaming on Binance. We are not streaming on any other exchange. So we can be very candid, very honest, very open with what we're going to say today. But it also means I can go through some of my socials later on so you guys can get in touch. So Richard Teng has taken over the crypto exchange. And of course, they've agreed to pay $4 billion for money laundering. This is a very misleading headline. They have not been money laundering. The $4 billion is a fine for them not carrying out sufficient checks on every client on their books. That is totally different. Binance has not been money laundering. That has to be made very clear. So, who is this chap? We don't need to read about this. Where is Richard Teng? I'm sure it was one of these articles around here. So, Richard Teng, I've read his resume. CZ posted it last night. Read a good few things about him. There's two people within the company. There's him and there's another young lady. I don't know if she was the CTO. I didn't know which one of the two was going to be taking over. I had my money on her taking over, but Richard got the vote. I don't know who decided it was going to be. Teng is currently the head of regional markets outside of the US and will assume the responsibility for navigating the company as a years-long Justice Department investigation ends. It is an honor and with the deepest humility that I step into the role of the new CEO. With CZ and our leadership team's support, I've accepted this role so we can continue to meet and exceed the expectations of stakeholders while achieving our core mission, the freedom of money. So who is he? Why does it keep breaking up the article? So he's held a couple of positions that I've read about. I think he was in Dubai, and he's come from Asia as well. So he's been involved, as it says here, he's been involved in the Singapore exchange for a very long period of time. He is corporate. CZ isn't. CZ is a founder, he's an entrepreneur, but he isn't corporate. Now, if you take a look at other exchanges, I'm not going to mention too many names, but if you look at someone like Chris Marszalek, or if you look at Brian Armstrong, they're corporate. CZ was never corporate. He was always a man on the side of crypto. What Binance needs now is it needs corporate. It needs to become a fully fledged member of the financial institution team, family, whatever you want to call it. That's the direction that Binance now has to go. It can no longer cut corners or do, I wouldn't say it was immoral act. I would say that it now needs to play by the same rule book that everybody else has to play by. And I know these are historical accusations and charges, but now we need to play by the book. If we're going to get adoption, which we'll go on to in a bit, if we're going to get adoption, we need the top 10 exchanges, the top 20 exchanges in the world to all read from the same hymn sheet, all have the same KYC and AML, because at the end of the day, what we don't want is bad actors giving crypto a bad name. Now, CZ isn't a bad actor. Sam Bankman-Fried is a bad actor. Alex Mashinsky is a bad actor. Other people which haven't had their cases taken to court yet are bad actors. CZ isn't. That's the distinction. So Binance has now gone corporate. Richard has taken over the role, and now we're going to talk about the fine in a minute. I'm going to go through what that entails. But the other thing which not many of these articles are going to mention is that Binance will have a monitor in place from the American financial authorities. They will have a monitor in place for the next 3 years. That is somebody that will go into the company and monitor the business activity of Binance. So they are going to be watched for the next 3 years. I don't think we're going to be in a position where Binance is going to be shut down in America. I think this payment, this fine, is to clear the decks, and also, which we'll get onto with Coinbase, also give other actors a massive opportunity to take over the dominance of Binance, which is what they're trying to do. Make no bones about this. This is not about the fine. This is about control of crypto. And that is the direction that we have seen being taken by certain people. Look at what's happened to Binance in the last 12 months. The SEC has taken Binance US to court. They've closed down BUSD with Paxos. Not only did they close down the BUSD with Paxos, a few months later, Paxos have started to issue a stablecoin for PayPal. Coincidence? I don't think so. Also, several other people have been mentioning the fact that we are not going to see ETFs until this case has been resolved. We're going to get into that as well right at the end of the show. So Richard Teng is corporate. He's exactly what we need. He's going to steer the ship. He is a steady pair of hands. Binance has a massive market share. That, for me, isn't going to be diminished. CZ has done nothing wrong. So from my point of view, we shouldn't be too downhearted with what's just happened. A massive fine was always on the cards, and Binance paying that fine and admitting to not being as scrupulous as they should be is a win for crypto, and it's a win for Binance. So don't think this is negative. Don't think negative. Don't listen to the American press. I've seen some clips yet last night on some of these American TV shows which have been roundly critical of CZ and Binance, and the people that are watching these programs obviously taking it on board. You'd sell your crypto if you watch these shows, but they don't know what they're talking about, and the angle is clearly skewed, and that's the problem with traditional news. So we're going to move on now, and we're going to have a quick look. We're not going to spend too long on this. We're going to have a quick look at the fine, because the fine is 4.2, 4.3 billion. And just to put that into context, They were making a big song and dance about this last night. They were saying, this is the biggest fine ever issued. It's 4.3 billion. Aren't we good? Look at what we've done. The American banking system has been fined $200 billion for the activities they've been up to. 200 billion. 50 times the amount that Binance has been fined has been paid by the American banking system. So don't believe again that Binance is the biggest bad actor in the history of financial institutions. It isn't. It's just spin. Now, 4.3 billion sounds like an awful lot of money. Let's just be clear. 4.3 billion really isn't a lot of money to Binance. It really isn't a lot of money for CZ to pay personally. Let's be honest. CZ is a in the up and coming bull run, CZ will potentially become the richest declared person on the planet. And by declared, I mean forget about the Middle East, forget about royal families, forget about Rothschilds. I mean the richest declared person in the world. He will overtake Elon Musk, and simply because he holds just so many Bitcoin. Binance holds a massive number of Bitcoin. 4.3 billion really isn't a big fine on the grand scheme of things. And as this article goes through, they will be able to pay this fine without selling any crypto. So without even touching the actual Bitcoin they have on their books, they're not going to have to sell any of it. According to this, they've got 6.35 billion in corporate crypto reserves. I'm not sure this really makes much of a dent in Binance long term. Remember, we've just come out of the bear market. We're heading into the bull run. All of the Bitcoin that Binance holds is going to triple or quadruple in value. 4.3 billion is like pocket change to them. So according to Reuters, the deal includes a 3.4 billion penalty from the US Treasury's Financial Crimes Enforcement Network and $968 million from the Office of Foreign Assets Control. The fine is just a drop in the bucket compared to what Binance has in reserves. On November the 22nd, the Director of Product Strategy and Business Operations at Coinbase, Conor Grogan, delved into Binance's corporate crypto holdings from their proof of reserves. Based on the firm's proof of reserve spot, the exchange holds 6.35 billion in total corporate assets, including 3.19 billion in stable coins. Yeah, I don't think that really is the summation of Binance's assets, but I'm not going to discuss that on here. However, and again, we don't need to go into any of this. So we don't need to talk about the miner reaction yet. All I'll say about this is that the customer funds are safe. Binance has more than enough money. It makes an awful lot of money as it is. It makes so much money that it spends some of it on burning BNB every quarter. Binance is safe. There is nothing to worry about. But don't believe the spin that you are hearing about this fine. It might be the largest individual fine ever imposed, but on the grand scheme of things, Binance is 60% of the crypto market, and the fine is 4.3 billion. The banking system has paid 200 billion in fines. There's no comparison to which of the two is the worst actor. That's the way to look at this. That's how you need to consider it. So Binance is going to be able to pay this. It's not going to have to worry. There is no need. Now, we're going to look at, before we get on to what Brian Armstrong has to say, Brian Armstrong being the CEO of Coinbase, let's have a quick look at who the major shareholders are in Coinbase. Because, again, I'm not one to sit here and say that Coinbase are going to benefit. But Coinbase are going to benefit, and there's no two ways about it. Why are Coinbase going to benefit? Because they are the custodian for the crypto funds of all of these ETFs, number one. Number two, Coinbase and Binance, the two biggest players in the American market. Who have the SEC also gone after this week? They've gone after Kraken. Where's Kraken? Kraken is the third. So let's get this right. Binance has been massively fined and CZ has stepped down. Kraken has been taken to court. over historical selling of unregistered securities. Coinbase is sitting here. Now, let's just look at who the biggest owners of Coinbase are. I don't have to read them all out. Vanguard, ARK Invest, BlackRock, Fidelity. 4 of the top 7 also, surprisingly enough, happen to be 4 of the biggest Bitcoin ETF applicants that are about to go through and be approved. So you have the biggest Bitcoin ETFs, you have the biggest American exchange, and then you have Binance. Binance is the black sheep in America. It's the one that stands out. It sticks out. It's a bit like a thorn on a rose. They don't want it. They don't want it. They don't want it to compete with their club. Their club being the financial institutions. This is not conspiracy theory. This is from CNN Business. This is the breakdown of Coinbase Global Inc. These are the top 10 owners of Coinbase, and they are all the ETF applicants. This is as close as you're going to get to transparency on what is going on in America. BlackRock wants to control crypto in America. Their actions show that they want to control crypto in America. Who were they going into partnership this time last year? Coinbase and FTX. FTX exploded through Sam Bankman-Fried's fault and misappropriation of funds. They've gone. BlackRock and Coinbase were going to create a paywall or a gated entrance to crypto for the American customers by offering the ETFs, by offering it as part of their 401s, doing all of these things. So it's logical that Coinbase and these other financial institutions don't want to have Binance. They were going to go after them. It doesn't matter what they have found. It is evidence that the shreds of evidence that they've found have put together a case to basically try and dethrone Binance. That's what's gone on. So this has happened. You can go and check these figures yourself. But Brian Armstrong tweeted last night, to which I replied, pointing out the fact that he is also being taken to court by the SEC. So the crypto community reacts to Brian Armstrong's message as CZ steps down. It's not good. Brian Armstrong has capitalized on the opportunity to promote the exchange as a regulatory compliance entity as CZ steps down. He acknowledges that Coinbase's compliance strategy slowed the company's growth. Crypto community investors go after Brian Armstrong. So we know about this. We know about this since the founding of Coinbase. We've covered this bit. Now, this is the bit that's interesting. So Brian Armstrong says that they have been going down this path for the last 11 years. They want compliance, compliance, compliance. And very knowledgeable, more knowledgeable people than me have gone after him, explaining what I have just said. Coinbase is going to be the custodian for BlackRock crypto assets. Coinbase will be holding 1 million Bitcoin in custodial wallets is no small business. Imagine when 1 Bitcoin is worth $500,000. How will CZ and Binance fare after this? CZ, we don't need to talk about any of this. Now, we don't need to talk about the prison time either. That's not going to happen. What I will say is this, that when you're down, you need to look at who is there to support you and who is there to go after you. And on the whole, the crypto community, Justin Sun, have all been on the side of CZ. And then you look at who has made derogatory comments about him. You can look at crypto.com. You can look at Coinbase. They shouldn't be sticking the knife in when this happens, because this is good for crypto. This is good for the industry. This is good for adoption. This is good for ETFs. But this isn't good for an independent crypto market. There has to be a balance, and by destroying Binance, they are swaying the crypto market in favor of traditional financial institutions. So it's not good for Brian Armstrong. it's not good for crypto.com to have Binance under attack from the SEC. And the fine's been paid. It's a clean slate, and hopefully Binance will come through this in America. Binance is still going to be the #1 exchange around the world for the foreseeable future. I don't think that's ever going to change. But make no mistake, this is not a day to celebrate for these people. Brian Armstrong should not be celebrating this. He should have come out and he should have been a little bit more. He should have shown a little bit more class. But I think sticking the knife in is the wrong thing to do. But as I've just shown you with the breakdown of who the major shareholders are of Coinbase, he's always going to side with the money masters. So that's Coinbase out of the way. They're the big winners for me. We've gone through the fine. They're easily going to be able to pay that. We've gone through CZ's resignation on Twitter. We've gone through Richard Teng. We now know who he is. What we're going to do now is we're going to have a little look at the Bitcoin price. We're going to have a little look at what's happened to Bitcoin in the last 24 hours. Then we're going to look at BNB. I know a lot of people that watch this show hold BNB. So we're going to have a look at that. And then we're going to look at ETFs. What's going to happen now with ETFs? Because that's really the crux of what's just happened, is the ETFs. But first of all, let's have a quick look at the Bitcoin price. So crypto traders load up on Bitcoin topside option plays after Binance's guilty plea. So we know about this. According to over-the-counter institutional crypto trading network Paradigm, the options market has increased activity in topside Bitcoin call options in the aftermath of the Binance news, a sign of persistent bullish sentiment. So again, remember that old adage, do what they do, not what they say. So what they say, negative, Wild West, crypto's full of bad actors, that's what they say. Look at what they do. They're setting up ETFs. They're stopping you from sending money to exchanges because they want you to buy their own ETF or crypto offerings. They are positioning themselves to take over and become the dominant players in those markets. That's what they're doing. What they're saying is, it's not here to stay. It's volatile. So just remember that whenever you hear anything, make sure you take it in the context of who is saying it and why they're saying it. Same thing I say about Michael Saylor. Michael Saylor will be the most bullish individual on Bitcoin you've ever heard because they hold 160,000 Bitcoin. He'll say nothing good about Ethereum or Cardano or XRP because he is Mr. Bitcoin. So in the option space, after the initial two-way flow, we have seen interest in loading up more topside with strong demand for the March 2024 expiry calls. March 2024, 2 months after the ETFs have been approved, 1 month before the Bitcoin halving. Buy the rumor, sell the news. I personally would have gone for March. If you asked me for a month, when I think we would see peak FOMO before the halving, it would be March, because we'll have the ETFs behind us, we will have them in play, but we haven't quite reached the halving. The next point of call for me would be November next year, and then after that, November 2025. So there's certain key months involved in here, and obviously traders are going for March next year. So they've gone for a strike price of $45,000 by next March. That is an upside from here of about 25%, which is decent. A call option is a contract between a buyer and a seller. We know that on a specific date. All crypto fear, uncertainty, and doubt has just been liquidated. When the market finds a bottom on this Binance news, all sources of FUD for the last 2 years will have been eliminated. This is 100% what has just happened. We have seen the end of FUD. Why? Because the only thing we've got hanging over us now has been this has he, hasn't he cheated noose over what's happened at Binance. It's gone. Who do we have left? The XRP case has proved that the SEC can't beat a crypto. The grayscale case has proved that the SEC can't beat a trust wanting to become an ETF. They've paid a fine. Where was Gary Gensler yesterday during that press conference? Why wasn't Gary Gensler on stage with Elizabeth Warren or whoever else was there? Janet Yellen. Where was he? Why wasn't he there? So the SEC has proven it can't beat crypto. It can't beat the ETFs, but what it can do is it can nitpick through an exchange, find problems, and then get rid of that exchange. But it's done. What's left? What other actors do we have left that could possibly cause any more FUD? Alex Mashinsky's in court. Celsius is about to come out of Chapter 11. That's all sorted. BlockFi's been sorted. FTX is going through the court case right now. Binance have paid the fine. Kraken is really neither here nor there. Coinbase is in court and they'll probably win. And they will become the custodians of all crypto in America. There's nothing left. There's no more FUD. China's banned mining. China's allowed mining. China's banned mining again. Russia banned mining, has now allowed mining, and is going to carry out transactions on the blockchain. It's all gone. Everything that we've had over us like a dark cloud has now gone. Whether you agree with what Binance has done or not, that has now gone. So given this, the regulators have kind of claimed a victory over crypto with this fine. Crypto has claimed a victory by the fact that Binance hasn't been found guilty of committing any major crimes. CZ is never in a million years going to go to prison. Never in a million years. These stories circulating about him going to prison for 18 months, it's never going to happen because he will probably serve a non-custodial sentence, which means he might be issued with some kind of, 18 months probation, whatever. But he's not an American citizen. He's probably not going to be in America when the case is concluded. So he will just basically go away, recharge his batteries for 2 or 3 years, and then come back stronger. That's what's going to happen. But Bitcoin, now, the shackles are off. There's nothing in their way. BlackRock now knows it has the upper hand. Cathie Wood now knows she has the upper hand. She probably didn't want it to play out like this, but they've all now got a clear field in front of them. So upside of $45,000 by March, I think, is a little bit conservative. However, remember, it's a buy option. You're not going to want to buy it at the peak. So if it's at $70,000 and you've got a buy order at 45, you're buying $70,000 Bitcoin at $45,000. So just bear that in mind as well. That isn't the price that they expect on that day. That's the price they're willing to pay for it or willing to sell it at. So $45,000, I think we could see in the next few weeks, we could see some absolutely massive news coming out about ETFs. And I think that's what's going to happen. Now, before we get on to the price action, one thing I do want you all to do if you are watching, we have a YouTube channel, and the reason I'm showing you this is that I made a video yesterday. This video here. If you've heard of Pyth is a free airdrop, and I claimed my free airdrop on Monday, and I claimed $1,100 for free. Didn't cost me anything. It's not a scam. It's a legitimate project. It's got a $500 million market cap. I would advise you all to go over there and watch that video, because you will be able to claim, if you've transacted on that chain in the last 2 or 3 years, you're going to be able to claim. Next week, I'm also going to make a video about the Jupiter airdrop, which is going to happen in the next week or two. You're going to want to watch that video as well. So make sure you go over to YouTube and watch this video. I don't think I can link it on the stream, but this is worth watching. It's 6 minutes of your time. It's got all the links underneath. I'm not going to play the video, but it's got all the links underneath for you to go and check and see if you can claim. And as far as I'm aware, you'll be able to either buy and sell this through Radium, which I've linked to, or you can go and I think you can trade it on Binance as well. So go and check that video out, Crypto Warehouse on YouTube. Now, we are going to move on and have a look at the price action of Bitcoin. I could probably do with dropping a box right now. Also, if you are watching, right, Tariq, what I'm going to say to you is, if you've watched the video, I make it very clear in the video what you should be doing. Also, if you look at the Telegram group, I've left a comment there about what you need to do. What you should do is you should be turning off your VPN. So if you're in Sweden, you need to say you're in Sweden. You don't want to have a VPN turned on when you're doing this. So make sure you turn that off. The airdrop is completely legitimate. It's completely above board. Go and check, but make sure that you do it on the correct path. And you can always drop me a message on Telegram as well. So make sure you do that. And if you want the link to that channel, go to the information underneath the stream, go over there and make sure to smash the subscribe button as well. Now I'm going to drop a box. 1 second, and then we will carry on with the stream. Okay. There we go. So for those of you that are not watching on Binance, we give away free crypto through the stream over on Binance. We stream every day at 11 o'clock, apart from Sundays at the minute when we're having a few days off, a few Sundays off. There we go. Also, don't click any of the links in chat. Just go to the links underneath. They are my links. Don't click anything else. So, the Bitcoin chart. Let's have a quick look at where we are. See what we're up to. And see what has happened with the price. Now, let's look at the scenarios. This wasn't quite a black swan event because we knew it was going to happen. So it was more of a grey swan event than a black swan event. We knew there was going to be a fine. We predicted a fine. We even predicted that CZ would be stepping down. So we kind of knew this scenario was going to play out. But look at it from another point of view. CZ, the CEO of the largest crypto exchange in the world, has stepped down. That crypto exchange has had to pay a $4.3 billion fine. And we haven't left this channel. If that is not bullish news, I don't know what is. We are still in the same channel we have been in now for 1 whole month. We did have, if we bring it down a little bit, there we go. We did have a minor drop down to 35.8 maybe. And I said on the stream yesterday, we're going to do two things. We're going to try and break 38,000, or we're going to come down to 36,600. And we are at 36,643. I didn't even know about the CZ news last night. Why did I know 36,600? I'm not a genius. I don't have a crystal ball. You just have to look at the price action. So if I bring this line down to here and zoom in a little bit, you will see that whenever we've had anything in the most recent days, we've been around this price here. So I'm not a rocket scientist. I haven't predicted the future. I've read the chart and I look at previous, and it's recent price action. You know, I'm not going back 2 years here. I'm going back over the last few weeks. 36,600 has been a nice price. If you move a bit further down to here, you'll see, what's that? 35,400 is the next price down. And again, support, resistance, resistance, resistance. So 35,400 could also have been a price to find support at. Now, I gave my worst case scenario on here a few days ago, and I said the worst case scenario, as far as I can see, is this level here, which is 30,800. Now, I did admittedly use previous points of resistance to determine that price. Okay, so 30,800 was my worst case apocalyptic future price for Bitcoin if we had a major capitulation. Previous support, previous resistance, psychologically $30,000. So that was my worst case. We also have a liquidity pool here. But look at where we are here. We've got a lot of things to break to get there. We've got 35.2, we've got 34.4, and then we have the huge gap down to this price. We didn't get anywhere near them. We didn't get anywhere near them. In fact, you could say we tested support on this trend line. Now, again, I don't want to go on the charts too much. I don't know where we're going to move from now. I don't know if there's any more news coming out today. All I will say is, based on history, we test, we move up. We test, we move up. We test. Are we going to move up? I think 37,000, maybe 37,500, maybe even touching 37.8. That's probably where we're going to go to, because we've found, well, we've tested, this trend line. We've tested support. So it's bullish, and it's even more bullish knowing that it's coming 12, 15 hours after a $4.3 billion fine has been paid. CZ has stepped down, and I'm talking about going up to 38,000. I don't know what else. I don't know how much more bullish we can be. It's major, major bullish that Bitcoin can see this kind of news and not crumble. If this had happened 6 to 12 months ago, we would be absolutely to the wall by now. We would be talking about a $10,000 or $12,000 Bitcoin. It didn't even blink. That's how little reaction the market has had to this. Now, BNB, on the other hand, has had a little bit more of a bad time of it. And that's to be expected, because BNB is the currency associated with Bitcoin, the currency associated with the BSC chain. BNB is going to take a hit the same way that Crow would take a hit if it was about crypto.com, the same way that other tokens take hits when they're exchanges. FTT is another perfect example. The utility token associated with an exchange is going to be impacted more than Bitcoin in instances like this. So BNB was down 9.2%. We're going to go and look at the chart again in a minute. The BNB bull run has finally stopped after recording constant gains since September. It's declined 9.2% and is trading at $236 at the time of writing. Just for a little bit of clarity on that price, I was buying BNB at $203, and I was buying it at $203 not that long ago. So we are up 15% from where I was buying it, and I was buying it probably 2 months ago. The volume will have shot up because there's a lot more sell pressure. There is a recovery. We're going to go through the price. According to a post by Sentiment, BNB's social dominance skyrocketed after the CEO resigned, as we've discussed. Moreover, according to Sentiment, traders are still long on BNB despite the U-turn. So I think what's going to happen is, it was a shock, but it wasn't a shock to the people who are in this every day. They know what's going to happen. They knew that CZ was going to take a step down. They knew all of these things were coming. So the only people it's a shock to are the people who are kind of on the outside. Let me just bring my chart up here. So I've kind of highlighted some levels over the last period of time. So let's go back to the daily chart. So I like to look at the daily chart. I'm not one to really look at hourly, 5-minute. It's not really my thing. I just try to kind of look at where the price is moving. Now, we can go back to February, the end of February, okay? And we've got a price here of $207. Now, I was buying my Bitcoin, it must have been about here, $202. Why did I buy there? Because this line, this blue line here, this is a really, really strong level of support for BNB. Okay, it doesn't seem to want to go under $200. So whatever was going to happen with Binance yesterday, it wasn't really going to suffer, if that's the right word. Now, what we did do, and again, this is sheer coincidence. The BNB price, everyone's complaining it's dropped dramatically. It's only dropped as far as it was on the 24th of October, which is a month ago. But look what happened. We actually touched this fib level on the day that we had the news about Binance. And what's happened? The price came down. But it also looks, and this sounds a bit crazy, also looks like we hit resistance and we got rejected. Now, clearly we didn't hit resistance and get rejected. Clearly it was the SEC's news, the financial authorities, the fine. We know all of that. But it's just happy coincidences. So short term, this is a great price to buy BNB at. I've talked on here before. I think we are going to be at $350 before you know it. If you look at the the BNB chart, we kind of had this breakdown. We kind of struggled around here, found support at just over $200, and potentially we could see something like this play out. That's what could happen. We could come down further. There's more news to come out. If we do come down, for me, $206 is the drop. $206 is about a 12% drop from here. I'm not going to bother working out the precise amounts, but $206 for me would be the leg down. If we don't get that and the market does recover, then we're going to go back towards $270, which is where we were trying to attempt yesterday and the day before. So 206, sorry, if we think there's more bad news to come out. I don't know what else could possibly come out that's worse than what happened yesterday. So for me, I think we're going to have this few days, maybe this week, where we absorb what's happened and then we move on. And I think BNB is going to recover, get back towards $350, and then probably have a really good run at $1,000 next year. So whether it's $207, $270, $234, BNB for me is a massive buy. It's part of the biggest crypto exchange in the world. That isn't going to change overnight. The more products they release, the more utility is added to BNB, the more it's used for transactions. So everything about BNB for me, long term, is massively, massively bullish. But I am generally bullish about utility coins from exchanges like Binance, like Crypto.com, because the more activity, the more people, the more usage, the more burn, the more utility, the more that gets locked. All of those things will eventually push the price up. And Crypto.com and Binance have both got a burn mechanism. And as time goes by, there's less and less BNB and there's less and less utility tokens on other exchanges, and that will bring the price up. And that's just simple economics. If you have less coins and more people wanting those coins, the price will go up. The same with the halving. Bitcoin is going to produce less and less Bitcoin. More and more people want it. There is only one outcome for that, and that is a higher and higher price for Bitcoin and for crypto in general. So what we're going to do now I've tried to kind of hopefully give the story today of what's gone on. We're going to finish with the future of ETFs. And if I closed the wrong, there we go. Okay. So we're going to look at the future of ETFs, because this is what this play's been about. As I've said, this wasn't about CZ, this wasn't about Binance, this was about control. Controlling their market and controlling their market share. BlackRock own the majority of most companies. If you go and look at various articles published on the Financial Times, if you look at the Wall Street Journal, you will see the fact that BlackRock is a major shareholder in most companies worth their salt. And BlackRock can affect policy within those companies. They can force CEOs to resign. They're a very, very powerful company. They are not going to want to move into another industry where there is a bigger player than them. And now we've seen that play out. And we've said it, I'm not going to go over it again. So where does this leave the Bitcoin spot ETF? For me, it's in a stronger position than it was 24 hours ago. In terms of, I'm 95% certain they're now going to get approved. I was 90% certain yesterday. They're going to be approved. Everything is out of the way. So ARK, BlackRock, Vanguard, they are all going to get their ETFs. It is probably going to happen in about 50 to 55 days' time. January the 10th is the deadline. So we are going to get the ETFs. Now, as I said yesterday, $1 in an ETF does not equate to $1 of the price moving up. You do not need to put in $300 billion to move Bitcoin to $100,000, for example. You would need to maybe put in 30 to 50 billion to move the price that amount. Now look at the demand for Bitcoin ETFs. At this moment in time, conservatively, the experts believe it's $30 billion. So $30 billion comes into Bitcoin tomorrow. The price is going to $50,000, $60,000 immediately. It's going to be a god candle if it was all bought on one day. Because this, everybody says the same thing. It's not the same as it was. It's the same as it was. History repeats itself. This time it's different. You hear these two sides of the arguments. And I'm on the side where history repeats itself. Until the point where something dramatically changes. Case in point, Ethereum is no longer proof of work. It's now proof of stake. That is a fundamental change to the dynamics of Ethereum. And that will change the price of Ethereum in 2025. That is an undeniable change. That's why Ethereum will be different this time around. Bitcoin did not have spot ETFs in 2021. It will have them in 2025. So, although history repeats itself, although Bitcoin works in a 4-year cycle, the stock market works in a 7 to 9 year cycle. All of these things have cycles, I get that. But things happen which change fundamentally how assets are valued and how assets and asset scarcity exists. And this is what is going to happen to Bitcoin. We might look back in 4 years' time and wonder if we're ever going to see a sub $100,000 Bitcoin ever again. We don't know if we're ever going to see that again. Potentially Bitcoin will be at $200,000, $300,000 in 5 or 6 years' time. We're never going to see $35,000 again. So just remember where we are, not just in this cycle, but in the adoption cycle and the cycle of scarcity, which Bitcoin, every day that goes by, there's less and less Bitcoin available. And at some point, you're going to get a break point where the price does not reflect the scarcity. And then you'll have a supply shock. The price will rocket. That could very well come in January next year or begin in January next year. And the price of Bitcoin will go up. The problem is, how much does somebody like BlackRock want the price to go up? Does BlackRock want the price of Bitcoin at $300,000 by June next year? No. It will want to show continued growth of that asset, so more and more people buy into it. That's what they're going to want. So to look at that, let's have a look at gold and what happened there. So the Bitcoin ETFs could see $14.4 billion of inflows in their first year of trading, spurring a 74% price jump. So what would that give us? A $60,000 Bitcoin? The impact oh, and by the way, just for the record, this article was written in October. So this was before any of the news has come out about Binance. So again, always look at the context in which an article is written or who it's written by. The impact gold ETFs had on the product's underlying asset could foreshadow the effect of yet to be seen Bitcoin fund launches. So this 15 billion that's going to come in is going to put the price up by 74%. The estimate comes from an assumption that the Bitcoin is adopted by 10% of total assets across 3 wealth management channels. The price of gold has roughly quadrupled since 2004. So I don't think Bitcoin is going to take 19 years to quadruple in price. That's my first comment. I think it's going to be a lot more. You have to remember there's a lot more gold and it's a bigger market and it takes a lot more money. The more money something costs, the harder it is to move. So gold ETFs have 198 billion in assets under management as of September. That's 1.7% of the gold supply. The value of Bitcoin held in investment products amounted to 21.7 billion at the time, 4.3%. With gold having an estimated 24x larger market cap and 36 less supply held in investment vehicles, we assume a dollar equivalent amount of fund inflows having an 8.8x greater impact on Bitcoin. By applying the year one estimate of Bitcoin ETF inflows into historical relationship between gold flows, Galaxy Digitals predicts a 6.2% price jump for Bitcoin in the first month that a US Bitcoin fund is offered. I don't know about that. The year one Bitcoin price increase estimates was from its price of 27,000. It's currently at 36, and according to this article, was at 34,000 then. So, whichever way we look at this, we're going to see a huge influx of cash into Bitcoin in the next 18 months. That's going to pump like nobody's business. I think we will hit $40,000 soon for a few weeks. I think we're at $40,000 before the end of the year. That could come from $50,000. Then we've got the halving to come. We've got interest rates coming down. Are we live? Oh, are we gone? I think we're still live. Okay. So I predict that we could be looking at $100,000 Bitcoin by the end of next year. And I think we're going to break the law of diminishing returns, which I had Bitcoin at $105,000 by the end of November 2025, before the ETF news came out. I don't think that's the case anymore. I think we're going to go a lot higher. And I think that we could be looking at $150,000, $200,000, $250,000 Bitcoin in 2 years' time. And that's not being a moon boy. That's not me shooting for the moon. That's me looking at having 2 years of ETFs, having a halving, having a supply shock, having more adoption. And with that comes all of the pumps of all of the altcoins. Cardano, XRP, they're all going to follow Bitcoin. We're going to get an ETF for Ethereum. That's going to follow the same path. We're probably going to have other ETFs for other altcoins. So Bitcoin is the first one. It's going to do the best. It's the biggest asset. Ethereum will come next. That will also have a big knock-on effect. And potentially we're going to see a decoupling. We'll see a decoupling from the stock market, but we'll also see a decoupling from the assets. Ethereum starting to move outside of Bitcoin's movements. The altcoins moving outside of Bitcoin. All of that will happen as the market matures. So all I will say to finish is don't sell your Bitcoin. Hold on to it for the next 2 years. It's not financial advice, it's my opinion. Hold on to Bitcoin. hold on to your top tier 1 assets. Ethereum, ADA, XRP, Solana. Hold them. Do not let anybody shake your money out. Now, conversely, if you are 20x up, so if you bought ADA at 5 cents and we're at $1 and you need to go and repair your house, of course take profits. Taking profits is a way to get rich, not just holding these assets up and down. So if you have to take profits, but have the long-term view that in 2 years' time, the earliest 2 years' time, you want to get out. Or if you are a long-term holder, 6 and then 10 years. So 2034, 2035 is a long way from here, I know, but that will be life-changing wealth by that time, because we will be fully adopted, the markets will be mature, and there will be new cryptos. Don't forget, these cryptos that are here today, in 5 years' time, some of them will be outside the top 10, outside the top 20. We'll have new coins, maybe the AI tokens, maybe Web3 tokens, metaverse tokens. All of these things can happen in the future. And, you know, maybe ADA drops to number 15, maybe XRP goes to number 2. Things can change, dynamics can change. Just go back to the peak of the last bull run, then go back to the peak of the previous bull run and see what coins were up there. You'll see that Litecoin was maybe 3rd. Litecoin has fallen by the wayside. So the top 10, top 20 coins do change a lot over time. Now then, we're going to say goodbye to YouTube, because we're going to do the quiz, and it's a Binance quiz today. We're not going to do anything else but the Binance quiz. Just let me check something. Is that live? Tell me we're live. I think we are. So if you are watching on Rumble, please do me a favor, smash the like button and press follow, because we really do need some people on Rumble to follow us, because we're new to the platform. But we are going to say goodbye to the people on YouTube. Thank you for watching. And when we come back, for those of you on Binance, we're going to do the quiz. So if you give me 1 minute, when I come back, we're going to start the Binance quiz.